Coming up this week on Oklahoma Horizon. Today our focus is Africa and the relationship we have with the African people. Complex issues with no easy answers, yet that's not been a problem for any of the people we'll introduce you to today. Keith Smith starts us off by looking at how something as simple as a mushroom could help alleviate malnutrition and poverty.
Here were people who were working very, very hard to earn very little, and that it wouldn't take very much to increase their standard of living, increase their productivity.
We'll meet an Oklahoman who's using his good fortune to help others, help themselves.
Microcredit in its simplest form is simply making small loans to people to help them either start or improve their businesses.
We'll tell you how you can take part in a program that does just that this summer. Plus, they've been called corporate welfare by some and the lifeblood of rural America by others. We examine the debate over the impact Western farm subsidies have on the developing world.
What we want is to stop subsidies. So the government should not provide them with subsidies so that we are on equal foot regarding the markets.
The subsidies we receive are basically passed on throughout the economy. So we can go buy John Deere tractors, so that we can buy our chemicals that keep Monsanto and investors in Monsanto and those companies involved. We basically take that money and put it back out in the economy.
And we'll meet an international student studying in Oklahoma to help his village back home. Stay with us for Oklahoma Horizon.
Horizon is made possible by the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education.
Oklahoma's investment in Career Tech provides more than nationally recognized technology education and training. It produces solid financial returns for the state's economic future. Oklahoma Career Tech, elevating our economy.
And the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping good people grow good things. And now, from the Career Tech Studios in Stillwater, here's your host, Rob McClendon.
Well, while we have our own struggles here in the heartland, the world's economy continues to worsen. For Africa, it's a crisis that only adds to the ongoing struggle with hunger and crippling poverty. Today, we'll meet several people right here at home hoping to help. And we begin with a farm couple who believe growing more mushrooms in Africa could slowly change their standard of living, which is why they visited the continent and have now brought some West African farmers to this country to learn specialized techniques for growing shiitake mushrooms. And that's where our Keith Smith picks up the story.
Rob, let me tell you about them. The couple you're about to meet has spent over 20 years in the mushroom business growing shiitakes on hardwood logs. Already having a successful operation going and growing, they still want to do more. And here's how they're making a difference. If you listen close enough, you begin to hear it. While Doug and Sandra Williams grow mushrooms, they're also helping an African nation grow a new industry. His idea, her calling.
And I think it's because he had wanted to grow something in a greenhouse. He wanted to grow something that would help people, something that was low technology and wouldn't harm the environment.
Sandra and Doug traveled to Ghana 2 years ago to see what they could do with the mushrooms that they knew so well.
You don't expect the colors and the sounds and the interactions with people and the warm greeting that you get. Here were people who were working very, very hard to earn very little, and that it wouldn't take very much to increase their standard of living, increase their productivity. This is the one where we keep the logs.
A door opened, and two of the top African farmers in the country
We've had as many as 6,000 logs in the
have
past.
come to learn how to grow the mushrooms. Anything to help a nation on a continent plagued by poverty where millions face famine and starvation.
And we are trying to help the mushroom farmers to get above $1 a day.
Okay, then we can start.
We are going to work.
We are proud to be working in this farm.
And then the shiitake, as the wood cells go this way, the shiitake will grow this way and it'll grow this way.
For the love of learning and the sake of giving,
They're going to be learning how to handle the logs, how to select the logs, how to a little bit about cutting the wood. They're going to be drilling holes in the logs, putting the spawn, which is the mushroom seed, inside the log, sealing it with hot wax.
You know, our operation and how we do it and how long things take and different things, problems that may crop up.
And to think what they're doing today to help almost never happened.
I came to absolutely hate the business because it wasn't doing anything for anybody except making money. So I think that meeting Bernard and meeting the people of in Ghana was one of the most consciousness-raising, awareness-raising, love-raising things that has ever happened to me. And I realized that there's something that we could do with our shiitake mushrooms that would help other people. Then I had a whole new purpose.
So we are trying to look at all other means to elevate poverty through mushroom cultivation.
People would be more aware of mushrooms, would eat more mushrooms, so the farmers could grow more mushrooms. The people would be healthier. There's a protein deficiency going on there, and shiitake mushrooms are very high in protein.
And as the Williams will tell you before a meal, the mushrooms taste pretty good too.
They'll be cheaper than meat, and if they're widely available, it would help all the people in the country.
So if we are able to send a new product to our country, that is going to let us get an additional income.
They hope the tender morsels will change the mushroom industry in Ghana.
Whatever we are going to learn from this place, we are going to put into practice and then make sure our dream will come true one day.
Where you plant one seed, you never know how many blooms will follow.
On a farm specializing in a fungus, a dream the Williams planted 6,000 miles away on the Earth's porous continent. An amazing couple. It's a touching story that's still being written. As part of the trip, Bernard and Godwin toured different mushroom operations in Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, picking up different techniques to take back with them. Plans for the trip even included a visit to New York to address the United Nations on their training and what's being done in Ghana.
You're watching Oklahoma Horizon, featuring some of the good things that are happening in the great state of Oklahoma.
Well, it's certainly not the lack of ambition that keeps most of Africa mired in poverty, but the lack of investment capital. It's a problem around much of the third world, and one that could well be solved with the smallest of investments on our part. Recently, when we met a successful Oklahoman who's making it part of his life's work to help fellow entrepreneurs help themselves.
With children in their arms, Malayan women often support their entire families with what they sell along the road. Commerce, at its simplest, limited not by ambition, but by the lack of capital. Back in Oklahoma, Phil Smith is one of a growing number of Americans hoping to help those in poorer nations. But the entrepreneur turned philanthropist is not giving money away. Smith is lending it through a process called microcredit.
Microcredit in its simplest form is simply making small loans to people to help them either start or improve their businesses. So with a small loan, they can improve their businesses, make an increase in their incomes, and really change their lives.
Smith is the author of A Billion Bootstraps, a best-selling book about microcredit lending.
There's an old fable that you could lift yourself up by your own bootstraps. And so that saying in America is pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, which means starting with nothing and growing a business or growing your family's life.
In the book, he shows how even the smallest of loans can help a struggling business owner immensely.
There's about 4 billion people in the world that live on less than $4 a day.
A small loan can be used in any number of ways, bringing in much-needed income for borrowers living in the poorest of countries around the world.
In Rwanda, maybe the average income's a couple $100s a year, so the first loan might be $50. And that's why microcredit works much better the poorer the country, because for the same amount of money, you can make many more loans and affect people's lives at the same level. It's often the difference whether their children get fed or not fed, whether the children go to school or don't go to school, get clothes or don't get clothes.
And Smith says microlending is much more than just charity.
It is still by far the best way to help people out of poverty. And a lot of it is because they help themselves. We have found that international aid is a complete disaster. You can help people for a short period of time, but over a long period of time they become dependent, the money gets wasted. It doesn't go the right places. But if you can help people help themselves, they will do what's right.
Now most microloans are given to women, and Smith says this isn't by accident.
People that are in the business generally will tell you women are much more interested in helping their families. They typically need to have jobs that are near their children so they can take care of them rather than jobs away.
Giving entrepreneurs from all over the world a real way to pull themselves up by their bootstraps.
And helping women in the developing world through economic empowerment is the goal of an Oklahoma-based charity. Joining me now in studio is Terry Neese, the founder and CEO of the Institute for Economic Empowerment of Women. We first got to meet when you brought some Afghan and Rwanda women in last year. Why do this program?
Well, certainly in Afghanistan, we believe it's an extension of our soldiers and what they are doing on the ground there. And in Rwanda, we want to make sure, as we are doing in Afghanistan, that these women have an opportunity to rebuild their country. And if they become self-sufficient, then, you know, we believe if you educate a woman, they will educate their children, they will educate their village, and they'll rebuild their country. So for us, it's all about peace through business and developing partnerships.
So when these female entrepreneurs come to the States in the summer, what exactly will they be doing here in Oklahoma?
They will be mentoring with Oklahoma women business owners. So it's an opportunity for them to extend their education because they've already gone through some in-country education that we provided for them, and they've done leadership development through the university and attended an International Women's Economic Summit. Now they're spending a week with an Oklahoma woman business owner and her family and learning how she balances her family life and her work life. A great experience not only for the women from Afghanistan and from Rwanda, but also for Oklahoma women business owners.
And do we find some commonalities between the two?
Oh, there are. I mean, they're beginning to establish partnerships, real business partnerships, and learning so much about implementing their business plan. How do they go find access to capital? How do they take their product and service to the marketplace? And they become friends for many, many years. This is not something that will just happen this summer. It will hopefully continue to be a mentorship via email for many months and many years to come.
And there is an opportunity for Oklahoma business women to get involved in this.
Absolutely. We want them to be mentors. So if there are viewers out there that are listening to this and saying, wow, I'm a business owner and I would love to share my knowledge and be able to pay forward some of my successes to women around the world.
And there is a website they can go to. It's IEEW.org, which is the home website for the Peace Through Business program?
Correct. It is called Peace Through Business because we believe we are building bridges, and you know, it's hard to be at war with your partner. And so building peace through business around the world is what we're all about.
Now, if you'd like to be a part of this remarkable program, we do have more information on our website, as well as a web-only feature on the Afghan women who visited Oklahoma last year.
Still to come on Oklahoma Horizon, solving poverty with education. But first, the debate over American farm subsidies and their impact on developing countries.
Well, every 5 years, Congress writes a new farm bill, legislation that's responsible for pumping billions of dollars into farm states like Oklahoma. Money that covers everything from food stamps to farm subsidies. And while just a fraction of the total cost of the Farm Bill, it is the farm subsidies that many in the developing world believe are keeping world commodity prices artificially low.
Well, created during the Dust Bowl days by President Roosevelt, farm subsidies were a way to save thousands of small farmers on the brink of disaster. Since then, tens of billions of dollars has flowed into farm country to control commodity prices while also helping farmers through the lean times.
What we need to keep in mind is farm subsidies were originally established to ensure a domestic food supply for the United States, and that's why they're there today.
Less than 2% of Americans are now involved in production agriculture, yet farmers remain a powerful force in our nation's capital. When the White House proposed lowering farm payment caps by 1/3 for the new budget, farm groups rallied, and the proposal never got off the ground.
First of all, we can't use price supports anymore if we want to compete in the world. If we truly want to have open agriculture exchange to really benefit the agricultural community in this country, we're going to have to get away from that. Most of our agricultural groups, our farmers, are undercapitalized. So why do we have price supports? Because they can't make it through the normal changes in the market. Most farmers I talk to would much rather have a market system where they didn't have to depend on anything from the federal government. But we live in a global world, so we've got to have either a good trading system or we have something that allows them to compete.
Competition increasingly complicated by a global economy. Worldwide, no industry is more regulated and manipulated than food. Tariffs tax imports coming into countries, while farm subsidies support exports going out. A dynamic the World Trade Organization says helps rich nations while hurting the poor. In West Africa, cotton is vital to their local economy. Labor's cheap here, just about $1 a day, but farmers still struggle to make a profit, something they blame on Western farm subsidies they believe keep world cotton prices unnaturally low.
What we want is to stop subsidies. So the government should not provide them with subsidies so that we are on equal foot regarding the markets.
Unlike in the U.S., farmers here receive no help from the government. To survive, they grow food crops for their family and cotton for cash, earning in a good year only about $300.
The world markets shape and hurt all of us.
Back in Oklahoma, Matt Muller is preparing to plant another cotton crop. In Oklahoma, it's cotton farmers that receive some of the largest farm subsidies, amounts Muller believes can be misleading.
The subsidies we receive are basically passed on throughout the economy. So we can go buy John Deere tractors so that the guy who made the John Deere tractor making union wages can keep his job, so that we can buy our chemicals that keep Monsanto and the investors in Monsanto and those companies involved. We basically take that money and put it back out in the economy. And if you take the legs out from under agriculture, if we don't have a safety net to operate with, and therefore we can't stay in business, there's going to be a lot of the American industry and business that's going to take a hit as well, because we add tremendously to manufacturing jobs and support jobs.
Well, if USDA projections are right, the actual cost of farm subsidies could decrease dramatically in the coming decade. High oil prices last year spurred demand for biofuels, which in turn raised crop prices to record highs, virtually eliminating the need for price support payments, and prompting opponents of the farm subsidy program to renew their call for their total elimination. Yet many in farm countries say all you need to do is look at this year's record low wheat crop to understand the ups and downs of farming, and believe it would be unwise to bet the farm on an economic forecast.
Oklahoma Horizon is now portable. Just subscribe to our weekly podcast. Visit iTunes.com, where you can download our show for your listening or viewing convenience.
Well, living in an underdeveloped country is difficult, especially when there's little hope to change things. However, that's not the case with a graduate student from Kenya who's taking steps to make a difference in his home village by educating himself abroad. With more on that, joining me now is our Courtney Dehoff.
Patrick Stacey is definitely on a mission for change, and what he hopes to change is the way people think in Africa and here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, so which one has carried the day?
In Miss Kiswahili class at OSU, the students are learning more than just a new language. They're also learning about African culture. But the information that Kenyan graduate student and professor Patrick Stacey is learning can make the difference between life and death for those depending on him back home.
I come from a village called Cheptulu. It's from western part of Kenya. We have around 1,200 people in that village. And it's pretty moderate as far as life is concerned. We are fighting poverty there. We are fighting through education and making sure that people understand that development lies in education and in themselves.
The advantage of having an American education is what led Stacey to Oklahoma. And the demands from home are what keeps him here in Oklahoma, obtaining his graduate degree.
In Africa, you know, we need almost everything. So I thought, if I know something in business, I know something in economics, and then international relations, and then agriculture, because of hunger always in Africa, I think I'll be holistically approaching education.
Responsible for so much more than teaching and writing dissertations, Stacey knows he is expected to succeed while he is away from home.
The vision that I have for my village is to be poverty-free.
Constantly mindful of the bigger picture, Stacey knows exactly what he wants for his community back home and how it will be obtained.
We may not eradicate everything, but the standard of living. I would like to see all children going to school. I would like to see people involved in business. I would like to see poverty being reduced to almost zero. That is the vision. And my mission to that is to look at how can we accomplish education.
While Stacey's village in Kenya is making great progress in early childhood education, Stacey is also interested in a career in developmental politics because he says his village needs to be heard.
When you live in a village, you know that village better than when you just, somebody comes from somewhere and it comes to say, hey, this is, you need to do this. I want to change the attitude that the villagers, even though they may be poor, even though they may be illiterate, they know something about that village. And when you are doing development, please listen to them. That is something that is lacking. Big gap. We are just told what to do.
Upon returning home, Stacey has lots of work to do, starting with helping his village to raise the children.
Kid belongs to everybody, and it's very important for me to do well here, and that's why within 5 years I may be getting my master's and PhD. Finish quickly and get out of here and go home.
In the poorest parts of Africa, almost half the population lives on less than $1 a day. So you could say that helping his fellow Africans rise above poverty is Patrick's biggest motivation for coming to the United States.
So Courtney, how popular is the trend of Africans coming to the States for a higher ed degree?
Well, Rob, the number of Africans traveling to the United States to obtain college degrees is growing. In fact, Africans average the highest educational attainment of any other ethnic group.
Courtney, in my experience, many of the Africans I've met have come from very meager backgrounds, and it's just a struggle to get here.
It is, but in Africa, life is very communalistic. So oftentimes, students have the moral and financial support of their entire village, which Patrick will tell you just increases the pressure to do well in his studies, then hurry up and get back home to his loved ones in Kenya.
Well, the easing of travel restrictions to Cuba has many asking, what about trade? Next time on Oklahoma Horizon, we return to the island nation hoping to make a deal.
From a geographical location, from a logistical standpoint, this ought to be our market, and we hopefully someday will get to that point. And yes, it has been frustrating, but we are making progress.
The long and bumpy road of trade with Cuba, an Oklahoma show for the Heartland, Oklahoma Horizon. Millions of people die every year for a stupid reason. They're just too poor to stay alive. According to the World Health Organization, 22,000 people die each and every day from poverty. Now, to save those lives would cost the developed world about $66 billion annually. But in doing so, we would generate 6 times that amount in economic benefit. Poor communities are hotbeds for instability, whereas a functioning community becomes another market for our goods. The fact is, it's cheaper and smarter to help developing countries than let their economies spin out of control, which may well sound self-serving, but I believe it makes humanitarianism a smart investment. I'm Rob McClendon. Thanks for watching. See you soon.
Horizon is made possible by the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education, the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food and Forestry, and OETA, the Oklahoma Network. Copies of today's show, which is number 925, are available on our website, okhorizon.com. Thank you for watching Oklahoma Horizon.